It's a clear case of diplomatic deceit. Two Marines who were accused of shooting dead two Indian fishermen last year in February off the coast of Kerala promised to go home only to cast their vote in the elections in their country. And yesterday evening, the Foreign Minister of Italy sent a note to the Indian government saying that these two Italian Marines would not be sent back because the trial which was going on against them in Kerala for the murder of two Indian fishermen went against international law. That's the plea that the Italian government gave, but it's outright betrayal of the families of these two Indian fishermen who were shot dead in cold blood by the two Italian Marines. But the main question that is being asked at this point is, why did India allow these Marines to go back in the first place? Remember, in December last year, they'd first gone home for the Christmas break and then again for 4 weeks this month to apparently cast their vote in the elections in Italy. Now they are not coming back, and the families of the fishermen can do precious little other than ask the Indian government, were they conned or did they actually collude in letting these killer Marines get away?
Answer it. Not respond to you. Let's respond to what they've said. I haven't even been to the office. Let me get back to my office.
So the fact was, it was a Supreme Court decision.
We will. I know it's a Supreme Court decision, but it's also a matter of our country's collective decision. We can't pass the ball on to anybody. Let's just read what is said. Let's understand their position, and we will respond. We'll let you know what exactly.
The two Italian mariners who were responsible for killing of a fisherman off the coast of Kerala were given permission by the Supreme Court to go back for the elections in Italy. It's learned that the Italian government has refused to hand them back, and they had been taken under the bond given by the ambassador of Italy to India. It's a betrayal. It's sort of a bluff by the Italian government. And it's also a bluff to the highest court of land, which is the Supreme Court, which was generous enough to allow them to go abroad under diplomatic considerations.
It is an alarming news, and it's a question to the integrity and sovereignty of India and to the highest judiciary, Italian government, represented through the ambassador of Italy in India. He assured that we will come back after the election and voting. And now they are saying that they will not come back. And there is a conspiracy between some high officials in some high people who are in government and with the Italian government. Some conspiracy is there. So we are going to raise this.
In this case, obviously, as you said, Italian ambassador had given an undertaking that they will return after their vote. Now, my objection is that if that kind of an undertaking was given, then that was misinforming the Honorable Supreme Court. Because according to Italian law, any Italian resident abroad can vote in general election or referendum through postal ballot. That means he can go to the embassy or send his ballot papers to the embassy or the consulate. So obviously someone has misinformed India and the Honorable Supreme Court.
Kerala government and the Fishermen's Association in Kerala are all building pressure on the government to forcibly to bring these Italian Marines back. The Prime Minister says the Italian reaction is unacceptable after the BJP raised the issue in Parliament. The MEA has now summoned the Italian envoy. The families of these fishermen are saying how much longer will they have to wait for justice? All right, joining us for more on this is Headlines Today's Strategic Affairs editor Gaurav Sawant, also joining us from Kerala, and he's been in touch with the fisherman's family, is my colleague Praveen. I want to ask you first, Praveen, a number of objections has been raised. First, it was the family of the slain fishermen, even the Chief Minister of Kerala, Oommen Chandy. But have they got any sort of reassurance from the government, or will only strong objection be registered and that's where it ends?
Padmaja, Mr. Oommen Chandy has just told us, the media persons in Trivandrum, that he is travelling to Delhi today itself. He'll be reaching there this night and he will meet Prime Minister to press upon the demands of Kerala. In fact, Kerala government has been very firm on their ground in support of the fisherman's family. They were never in favor of the Italians being sent back to Italy. Even last time when there was a pressure on them to send them to Italy for celebrating Christmas. That time also the Kerala government had made it very clear that they are not in favor of this. This time also Omanchandi has come out now in the evening and told us that this government will put all pressure on the union government to bring them back. And he said he will meet Prime Minister today and will press him, and he will also tell Prime Minister regarding displeasure the government has over this issue. So they will travel. The MPs have already, Kerala MPs have already met Prime Minister today, pressing their demands that it is not done because the families have to be given justice because they have been fighting for it for quite a long time. So the Marines will have to be tried under the Indian law, and they will have to come back, and the union government will have to answer the Kerala government now.
But for that, they'll first have to come back. Is that even possible now? Gaurav, in fact, you have accessed the sworn affidavit which was presented by the Italian envoy to the Supreme Court before the Marines were allowed to go home for voting in their country. In violation of the affidavit that he himself gave, now these Marines are saying back, what can India do? What are its options and why is it not exercising them?
Well, clearly the Ministry of External Affairs is extremely red-faced by this latest development. What are the options for India? Step one, move legally to have these two Italian Marines declared as proclaimed offenders. They are running away from the law of the land. They should be declared proclaimed offenders. That is step one. Step two, alert the Interpol. They are running away from Indian judicial system. Step three, summon the Italian envoy. That step three has already been taken. Hear him out. Why is it that Italy has suddenly decided? Why is Italy in violation of its own affidavit? Tell them that this is unacceptable to India, as the Prime Minister has said. And if India seriously wants to express its displeasure, then have the Italian ambassador declared persona non grata and have him sent back to Italy. If required, recall your ambassador from Italy. This is not just an issue of two Italian Marines now. I've been speaking to a number of sources in the Ministry of External Affairs and in the legal fraternity, and they're both saying this is an insult to the Supreme Court of India, this is an insult to the Republic of India. Italians deliberately lied to India, and it cannot be business as usual with Italy. But again, Padmaja, it depends on if the government actually has the will to take these steps. There are 8 steps that have been listed out by my sources. 8 steps that have also been suggested to the foreign secretary, who in turn will suggest them to the foreign minister, Salman Khurshid. It remains to be seen if government actually wants to scale down ties with Italy on such a huge slap, such a huge deceit. The opposition is calling it the great betrayal, and it's not just the BJP. Even the CPM in Kerala is saying this is a great betrayal. And you heard Balgopal, the CPM leader, who said that this could not have happened unless somebody high up in the government was involved in this. Because
that's right.
Deliberately, Padmaja, and as you know, the Italian ambassador lied to the Supreme Court. The Italian ambassador and the Italian government said they have to go back to Italy to vote. But that is not the case. Under Italian constitution, overseas Italians can vote in the consulate or the embassy. And this was told to us by Rajiv Dogra, former ambassador to Italy. He said that this was a deliberate lie in the Supreme Court of India. Why did the Ministry of External Affairs let this lie pass? Ministry of External Affairs knows that they did not have to go back to Italy to vote. But is somebody there complicit? That needs to be investigated.
In fact, Gaurav, the government is saying in its defense that it was the Supreme Court which ultimately gave permission to these Marines to go back. But isn't it also a fact that it was on the government's advice that the permission was eventually given? Which is why, isn't it, that questions are being asked whether it was just a case of deceit or whether there was collusion? Was the Indian government so simple to have allowed wool to be pulled over their eyes?
Indeed, that's a fair point you are raising. The Supreme Court took a decision based on the advice or inputs given by the Ministry of External Affairs. Of course, perhaps the Supreme Court will also have to explain, was this an erroneous judgment allowing them to go to Italy? Because somewhere down the line, the question that is being asked, are there 2 laws in India? A different law for Indian under trials and a different law for Italian under trials. Which under trial accused of murder in this country is allowed to go home for Christmas or to cast his ballot? There are 12,000 under trials in Delhi's Tihar Central Jail. Are they sent home for Diwali? Are they sent home for Eid? Are they sent home for Christmas? Clearly no. Then why were there special rules for Italian Marines? Everybody is equal before the eyes of the law, but somewhere down the line, the government needs to explain why were the Italian Marines treated with kid gloves after they killed innocent Indian fishermen. They were allowed to live in an officer's mess and not in a jail. Why? These are several questions that need to be answered. Why is India
Absolutely.
so soft on Italian Marines?
Let's remind you of exactly what happened on the 12th of February last year when the two trigger-happy Italian Marines opened automatic arms fire on an Indian fishing vessel off the coast of Kerala, killing 2 Indian fishermen.
It was cold-blooded murder in tropical waters. The date, February 15, 2012. An oil tanker flying the Italian flag is en route from Singapore to Egypt. 20 nautical miles off the coast of Kerala, the Enrica Lexi approaches an unarmed Indian fishing boat, the Saint Anthony. Italian Marines on board the Enrica Lexi open fire on the boat. Dozens of bullets from automatic weapons are fired from the rails. 2 Indian fishermen, Celestine and Ajesh Pinky, one from Kerala, the other from Tamil Nadu, are hit. One dies on the spot. The other dies later of his injuries. The oil tanker then tries to leave the scene of the crime, but is chased down by the Indian Coast Guard. The Coast Guard finally escorting the Enrica Lexi to Kochi port. The Marines arrested, only to escape back to Italy 1 year later. Bureau Report, headlines today.